Café Anyway. Here we are, Café Anyway.
It's Mike's Daily Podcast.
Somewhere in podCastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica, FF episode 2879.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm wearing my favorite t-shirt. It's not the first t-shirt that I've had that has the headphones on the front of it, because I'm a headphone type lad. I'm a DJ on the mic, and I'm talking to you and singing as best as I can, and I like doing that. You may not. That's okay. The show is called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And I am happy to say that I have Rocky the cat on my lap yet once again, and you can see him if you run over
Daily
to the Facebook page I have,
Podcast.
Mike's Daily Podcast Facebook page, which you can find at mikesdailypodcast.com, and you can see Rocky does a little intro to the beginning of the show. There is just too much tourism. Local markets become souvenir shops. This is another topica in the land of Ameritopica here at the last place on earth. Popular global destinations are contending with a surge in tourism that drives up the prices, it pollutes the cities, it damages historical sites, and it angers the locals. So I lived in a couple of places that were tourist destinations when I grew up in Southern California. One of them being Ventura, California. A lot of people love to go there. It's still, I gotta go back. I have a friend that's lived there his whole life. And he's in the same apartment. He's been renting this apartment for 40 years. And I said, hey, I'd love to come visit you and see Ventura again. He goes, I don't got any room, but I got friends that have room. Okay. Thank you. I'd be happy to couch surf at 55 years old. So what I'm saying is that growing up in a touristy type town, and also I spent a lot of time in Santa Barbara. I was first.
And here's today's podcast picture.
One of my first radio jobs was in Santa Barbara. Oh, here we are. Podcast picture's not of Santa Barbara, but of a beautiful beach that some tourists like to go to in the Bay Area, Half Moon Bay. And I was there recently and see this fantastic sunset photo at mikesdailypodcast.com. I think it looks fantastic, and I think you should look at it too. It'll make you happy. Like the late great Basil the Boxer was very happy to go there and run around on that beach. He did it many a time. But we took Rocky the cat there, and he didn't like it. Go figure. So what's happening is some of the planet's most beautiful and iconic places are in the path of tourism. Some 80% of travelers visit just 10% of the world's destinations. Only 10%. So that means you've got a whole other 90% you should be thinking about and visiting. Instead of just going with the crowd, going with the sheeple, going with the lemmings. Go break out. Try something new. Vacation somewhere interesting. That's why I love to visit when people tell me, oh, I moved to some place in the wherever.
This show is clean.
I don't want to say a particular place because I don't want to put it down. Nobody will ever visit me because I live in this place that's not a touristy place. Oh, I'll come visit you. I can't wait to see what's around there. You can show me around. It sounds exciting. Global tourism will hit 1.8 billion, although there'll be 1.8 billion tourists by 2030, just a few short 6 years away. That is up from 1.5 billion tourists that were around in 2019. The number of hotels in Barcelona quadrupled from 1990 to 22. Why did we go woo about 1990? 1990, Janet Jackson. 1990 was a big year for her. Michael Bolton, Whitney Houston, all your hair band, metal bands. There was that song by Poison nobody remembers anymore. Oh, no, wait, that came out in 92. Give me something to believe in. Or was that 91? Flights are... So the number of hotels in Barcelona quadrupled from 1990 to 2023.
Mike is on it, man.
Go where no man has gone before.
We love it, Mike.
All kinds of fascinating stuff here in Topicas at Mike's Daily Podcast land in Café Anyway. Here are the problems that are coming about because of tourists. Flights are now more accessible. Oh, this is why people are becoming tourists. Flights are more accessible. Ticket prices are nearly half as expensive as in the 80s. What? Yes. Rocky the cat just gave me a look. Don't do that, he said. I don't believe that, but that's from Rob Black. I produce his podcast, and he has heard on...
This is Mike's Podcast Picnic.
I'm making some coleslaw for our podcast picnic here today. I hope you enjoy here at Café Anyway. And he's heard on AM 1220 KDOW weekday mornings. He's also on Cron TV Monday through Thursday in the 9 o'clock hour. There is also an emerging global middle class that's contributing to tourism and tourists. China and India's huge middle class is contributing to global tourism. There's more information to learn.
Get through that. I got into it.
Get into it as a tourist to learn about landmarks and attractions in other countries. So I need to get out and travel. This is what I was telling my friend that lives in Ventura. I need to get out. I need to get out of town. Tipping, you know what, before I get into tipping, which when you are a tourist and you're traveling, you tend to tip a lot, or you feel the need to, or probably you should, but
when you are a man, sometimes you wear stretchy pants.
And sometimes you need to wear stretchy pants, you should. When I went down to Los Angeles in March, that was my last trip actually that I took. So it's time now for another one. I need to go on another one soon. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in podCastro Valley, the last place on earth, in the land of Ameritopica. But yes, tipping fatigue has led to higher wages. For the last 2 years, we've been talking about tip fatigue. A survey found 2 in 3 Americans feel negatively about tipping. And not tipping cows.
Anyway.
Not that, Café Anyway. 7 out of 10 think that tipping is expected in more places than ever now. 25% of customers will actually tip less when presented with suggested tip amounts on a touchscreen. Or at the bottom of that receipt they give you, or when they bring you the bill, and on that piece of paper at the bottom it suggests what tip you should do. And usually with the touch screen, it's 3 choices. It's usually 15%, 20%, 25%.
I mean, people get stuck on stupid. You know what I mean?
I know. I get stuck on it. And then under the 15%, I think it says fair. 20% it says good. 25% says great. Who was the one that was the judge of that? Who was the one that came up with those adjectives for that amount, percentage-wise, that I'm going to tip? So, more than half of Americans, this is interesting.
MTV News. You hear it first.
And you know who used to be on MTV? Was, aside from Kurt Loder, in Welcome to MTV News and Kurt Loder News, the best band of all time, Bare Naked Ladies, is having a reunion. No, Adam Curry used to be on MTV when I was watching it around 1990. And he has this show called No Agenda. And I've recently just become so utterly nonplussed about the dang show because they are just so obviously
Fabagoo, things to do.
The thing to do for them is to just whatever Trump says, whatever Trump does, they defend, they love, they embrace whatever anybody else running against him do, they criticize. Well, primarily the Democrats, they criticize. And then they go on and on and on about the legacy media. Look what they did. And they play all these clips. And at first I loved listening to it because I loved how they pointed out things where people go, right? All the time on shows, or sort of, kind of, sort of, the little crutch words that people use, the words that they tend to overuse. People don't really point them out, but you can tell when they say things like sort of, kind of. It kind of is kind of a problem. Kind of, it just shows that they're not what they're saying is they don't believe. It's why should I trust them if I don't believe them? But I guess what I'm saying is
travel into the incredible universe.
The incredible universe of conspiracy theories is not what I'm into overall, but I find it interesting in the no agenda world. And yes, there is a lot about media to criticize. I don't think it's all people. You know what people need to do? What media needs to do is just open the doors and let people in. The ones that are questioning them, the ones that are saying the conspiracy theory angle, the ones that are saying legacy media, just welcome them in. Take them behind the scenes. Show them how the sausage is made. When I was a kid, I got to go to the LA Times and walk around and see. I didn't understand what anything meant. I had no political slant one way or the other. I just walked around going, oh, okay. This is interesting. The thing is, everybody now can be their own form of media. But when something goes down, like the president is shot, or the former president is shot, or whoever is shot, or some big news, or somebody stepping down, where do they go first? They don't go to some guy, or maybe they do. They go to some guy that they watch on TikTok or social media. But the thing they go to the legacy media. They go to the corporate.
The Royal Trump Tweet Decree.
That's right. And then Twitter welcomes him back, and then he's not really even using it. He's using more his Truth Social, which was was set up to compete against Twitter. So either way, I just think that everything they say, it could be as easily said about the other party. Any criticism that they make. The one thing that set me off was the whole Republican convention. Now, the thing I admire about Trump is how he can get up on stage and ad-lib and do his thing, his speech. But it is getting old and people are getting tired of it. They're hearing the same things. They're hearing some weird stuff. Well, they've always heard weird stuff, but now it's just now that we're getting close to the election, people are like, do I really want to have a whole 4 years of this? A whole 4 more years of this? But you have this huge Trump sign in lights at the Republican convention. And you have Kid Rock and you have Hulk Hogan. And okay, all right, the spectacle of it. And if it was meant to go, okay, these are things we love about America. These are things that we shouldn't take too seriously. There's like an entertainment angle that I'm not aware of, this embrace of all things Las Vegas at high spectacle. If that's what it was supposed to be about, then okay, they succeeded. I don't know. Maybe the Democrats are going to try and compete. Maybe they're going to even try and take some of what they did in their convention and do big spectacle, big lights, have a fake White House on the stage behind the Kamala. Oh, that's the other thing. The two guys on No Agenda can never say her name right. And they're always like, oh, they're going to say we're racist. Well, they end up saying very misogynistic things, and I guess I'm just not so into that show anymore. So I deleted it from my podcast listening. platform. I was listening to them on YouTube Music, which I don't think anybody is using. It's a little too complicated. That's why Spotify is number one. They make it quite easy to listen to podcasts on that, is what I have found.
Bands mutation.
But if you're into...
Mutations.
And that's the other thing is YouTube Music, okay, wait, but I'm listening, but I'm also watching? Then why don't I just go to YouTube to watch my favorite band that's mutating? I guess this is what this segment is. So back to tipping. Back in the Middle Ages, it was a way for feudal lords in Europe to show their appreciation for their vassals. Vassals! And their serfs. Wealthy American tourists traveling to Europe, they brought it back with them, the tipping idea. They said, hey, feudal lords with their owning their land and their subjects and their vassals and serfs. We like that. We want to be more like that. So we're going to start tipping. It's actually a sign of superiority. And who wants that in today's world? Classism. So people brought it back with them in the 1850s from Europe. This thing that started in the Middle Ages. After slavery was abolished... Flying saucers coming by. I wonder how well they tip. After slavery was abolished in 1865, employers used tips as a way to justify paying no wages to newly freed slaves who found work as servers, barbers, and porters. Yikes. So see, tipping has its bad side. Well, here in California, now fast food workers who generally didn't get tipped, but...
As you know, there's a real scary holiday coming up.
Unless there was a jar next to the cash register. Tip jar. And what is the scary holiday coming up next? What's the next one? Is it Labor Day? I think so. Well, Rocky the cat is slowly trying to make his way off my lap. He is squirming because cats squirm. Speaking of England, was I speaking of England? I guess I was speaking of feudal lords and kings and whatnot. But Britain's King Charles' crown estate profits, they surged 148%. The results... Yeah. That statistics makes you want to say Jarelname, which who knows what that means. The results came from the sale of offshore wind projects. Yes, offshore wind projects on the seabed surrounding the British Isles. They got over $1.4 billion for that. What are people thinking that they need to retire? They expect their nest egg magnification to be $1.8 million. That's what they say they need to live on. And they expect that to last 23 years when they retire at age 65. That's the latest study says that about people. Will that work? I have heard that does not. Well, I think Rob would say it would not. Rob Black, that I got this information from. But I'm not talking about Rob-O-Taxi. How about a Robo-Taxi? They're returning to San Francisco. General Motors announced that it's restarting its cruise driverless taxi operations, which it had suspended last year after one of the vehicles hit a pedestrian in San Francisco and kept moving. Would not stop. Okay. Thank you. Look who's here. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How's y'all doing? I found all that stuff interesting. Here's my own telling. After Disgruntled Fiddle Player tell you what? What? I saw your cat just run off your lap there. How do you feel about that? I think that was like a little poem you just did. Yeah, I'm a poet, and I don't know it. Mike, what I don't know is what you're talking about. I think that Republican convention was amazing and beautiful. It brought me to tears. I cried when Trump kissed the uniform of the guy that died. Yeah, that was very sad and touching and moving, yes. I would have to say. Don't think Kamala is going to be able to match that. But we'll see. All right. What else? Who else is here?
Oh, Mike, I make the delicious root beer. Have some right now. Oh, boy.
I cannot wait to, Wow. That is so good. What's in it?
Boba.
You know, boba and root beer, I don't know. It's not the greatest idea.
Drink it right now, can't you?
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to just say right now, this has been a pleasure being on this show with you. Talking to you, with you, Mike Matthews with you.
Huge.
And now, here's the phone number if you would like to call me and contribute to this show that is with you.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go now to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.